Well, I'm Bill Koch, the Dean of the Nashville School of Law, and I'm very fortunate to be talking to 4 of our wonderful class of 2024 soon-to-be graduates, from my mouth to God's ears.
Yes.
And what we want to talk about for a few minutes is just what it's like to be a fourth-year law student at NSL. And I'm sure that as you were going through, you've heard, well, the first year's hard, but the second year's worse, and the third year's this, and then the fourth year. So what did y'all hear about being a 4L before you actually got there? What did you hear?
Buckle up. Really, I heard that it's that stress between you're still learning some substantive material, business associations and sales, but then you're also being petrified to prepare for the bar, and so you're having to balance because you do have to do both well. And fortunately, my friends that were student fourth years last year said you can do it, but that was kind of what I heard. Is it's challenging learning new information while you're trying to remember the things that you were taught 3 years ago.
I would agree with that. A lot of just buckle down, and it's going to come at you fast, and you're just really going to have to study, and then having the weight of the bar exam, knowing that's 10 months now, 10 months out, just a whole lot of life changes coming up, and just feeling the weight of it on top of your regular class load. It's intense, and it's just one thing you have to take a day at a time.
328 days until the bar exam. Not that
Thank you,
But
Amy.
who's counting? Yeah.
not that anyone's counting. But I've learned not to believe everything you hear. And when I have someone coming to me panicking about what's going to happen next year, I just take a step back. And because one, we've made it this far. And I was talking to someone the other day about, we were trying to figure out which year had been the most difficult. But every year has brought its own difficulty. The first year was learning the language. The second year was con law and civil procedure. Those were both bears of subjects to tackle. And then third year, you kind of were in a groove, but you also had a lot of stuff coming at you, and we had a lot of short, 1-hour classes. We also had trial, which was you were taking everything that you had learned and applying it and pretending to be a lawyer for a little while, and that was scary and affirming at the same time. So by the time I started hearing stories about fourth year, I braced myself and said, we've made it this far, we'll make it through our fourth year, and we'll make it through the bar.
I'm lucky because I didn't hear anything. I heard nothing about
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. I didn't know anything coming into the fourth year, and so I didn't have any expectations. It's funny because one of our professors this year mentioned us having senioritis, right? And so when you're in a 4-year program, it's hard not to think of freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, And so I definitely do feel like, some of us are kind of like, okay, we see the light at the end of the tunnel now. This should be, well, at least I was like, okay, this should be a breeze. I got through con law, I got through civil pro, I got through evidence, I got, the fourth year will be fine. I was incorrect. But I'm glad I didn't come into it, expecting to be overwhelmed, And just like in the previous years, I know how to buckle down and get it done, And so, so it's been good. It's just, keeping that senioritis at bay.
There's a strategy of attending law school, and a very common strategy is for folks to go to summer school to get electives out of the way so they don't have that weight. Did y'all do any of that?
Yes, I did get that advice, and I'm glad I did. But I have a friend who's taking an elective now. She's staying a little bit longer on, one night a week until October, and that doesn't seem too stressful either. But I did get all of my electives out of the way because I do want to be able to focus on the bar.
Yes, I did all of my electives in the summer and the school year. I was warned ahead of time. Start your first year after and start taking electives. So I did, and it was great. I think I took one during the school year last year, and then a clinic. But I highly recommend it. It sounds daunting, but honestly, it's like 6 weeks I think in the summer, because you double up on the hour load, and really it's not nearly as bad. And secret, the professors are more laid back in the summer.
Yes, yes, they are.
They come in shorts and
We're
stuff.
gonna edit that.
So, I think that was probably some of the best advice that I've gotten from students from previous classes. They all harped on going to summer school, getting it out of the way, and I'm so thankful that I did that. And I took two first summer, two second summer, and then I actually did 3 last year. So I'm actually 1 credit over with electives, but and the reason why is because there was one class that I said, this is actually going to be a benefit. It's kind of like eating your vegetables. I don't want to do it, but I know it's really good for me. So I went ahead and bit the bullet on it, and I'm really glad that I did. And part of the reason for that too was I was trying to ensure that for 4th year I didn't have any distractions or added on work that I didn't have to take on. If I could do it on the front end, it's kind of like the ant and the grasshopper, and I was just the ant and trying to front load it. I'm so glad that I did.
How about you in electives?
Same thing. I went ahead and took the majority of mine. Took 2 the first summer, I think 2 the second. I think I just took 1 this year. So I do have 1 elective that I'm taking this year, but it's a clinic. But I wasn't given any advice. I just kind of thought I needed to do it. I needed to, get it as much done as possible. And then after 2L, when I found out that if I wasn't taking them during the summer, I would potentially have to come in 3 days a week in 3L. I said, oh no, I'm going to take everything I can during the summer. Now, you can't avoid the 3 days a week during 4L, but 3L I was able to avoid it because I had already kind of front-loaded my electives. So I definitely advise it.
Something that when you take trial advocacy, you learn not to ask a question you don't know the answer to. But I'm going to break that rule, and I'm going to state a proposition that I've heard, and you can tell me whether you ascribe to this or not. There are students, none of whom are at the table, who have said, those 1-hour elective classes are really not that important. They ought to be easy. So we don't expect those professors to grade as rigorously in those classes. Has that been your experience? Do you favor that view, or what do you think about the rigor of the elective classes you're taking? Do you take them as seriously as the other classes?
I think it really depends. I mean, so obviously I take everything seriously,
Yeah.
Dean Koch. But right. But for instance, when you're taking a clinic, you have to take that seriously because you are dealing with real people in real cases, and it's no less rigorous than any class, any 3-credit class. Even more so in some instances. Some of the other summer classes that I took, again, I took like workers' compensation with Judge Davison. You can't not take Judge Davison seriously, So, I came into those classes expecting the same thing that I would expect out of, our normal 3-credit classes. It is a little bit challenging during the summer because I think everybody does naturally have a little bit more of a laid-back feeling and that kind of thing. You really hope that you would not fail a 1-credit summer class. That would be horrible, But I don't think anybody goes in taking it lightly.
Yeah.
And I would expect the workload to be representative of a 1-credit hour class. But I don't expect the content to be any easier. I did not have the expectation that it would be graded any easier. So, no, and like you said, I'm going to work hard at whatever. I'm in law school. I'm paying for this education. I want to learn whatever that professor, and like, they're usually judges or people actively practicing. I want to learn what they have to offer. So I'm going to put in the same amount of work. But I mean, I would expect the workload to be less than a 3 credit hour class.
Has
But
it been?
generally, yes.
Depends on the
Except for
elective.
those clinics.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Right.
Well, and internships too, because although I will say this, electives wise, I think internships are so invaluable. I mean, honestly, I would recommend after I'm now going into my second one, and I'm now +1 credit or +1 elective. I would recommend doing as many internships as you can, because there's no other experience like that.
Right.
But to your question, I think how you show up to one thing is how you show up to everything. You show up, you do the work. If a particular professor gives you 3 credit hours worth of work for 1 credit hour worth of pay, you do the 3 credit hours worth of work for the one, and it'll all balance out and wash out in the end.
And then you tell the next class.
And then you
what-
do your review.
Yeah.
So I think that the 1 hour electives have been pretty commensurate with the workload in relation to 1 hour versus a 2 hour or 3 hour for the most part. There's been a couple that I've taken that it seems like it's a little bit more of a workload, but at the same time, I'm not here to get an easy A, and anything less than a challenge is actually a disservice to the students. And so, the whole point of law school is to prepare for the bar exam. And so if you're taking a class from, say, a sitting judge, like, why would you not want to learn as much as possible? And the only way you're going to learn is with the work. And so by asking for less work, what benefit are you really getting, except for maybe to boost your GPA? And even then, what's it really helping?
You've all mentioned, and to answer that question in one way or the other, you mentioned the trial practice courses or the clinics or the interns and internships, and that's been something that's been very important to us to develop more of, and we're going to continue trying to do that. But it may go to the point you were making about being a little more practice ready. If you're in the juvenile clinic, and maybe some of you sound like you have, you got a real client, you got a real opponent, you got a real judge, and you got a real case, and I think that's one course where some people have worried that they're spending more time than they should, and I get that, but I think the point of it, though, is you're going to spend that much time when you're out representing these people. You might as well get used to it. Well, if you had to look in your crystal balls to get the answer to one question about what's going to be going on here between now and the end of April, what question do you have on your mind?
Oh, I don't.
As far
I
as
don't
school?
know.
School.
Okay.
Do you have something? You can go. Okay. I think when we're in school, we're just so focused on what's right in front of us. I don't even dare look in the crystal ball. We have our nose to the grind. We're doing the work. I would like to know, one, that we all passed the bar, and then two, just what is out there, what's waiting, what opportunities are we all going to get into, and just how are we going to put this to work? I'm excited about it, a little terrified, but excited about that. So, but right now it's nose to the grind.
I think the question that I have is what kind of effort do I need to put in, and what kind of resources do I need to use in order to pass the bar exam and feel confident in going into the bar exam and adequately prepared? And so that's a question that I wrestle with all the time, is am I putting in enough time and putting enough time in the right places with the right resources? And I think we all have that same question that we battle every single day. I wish I had a crystal ball that would tell me, like, this is how you pass the bar.
What's the answer to number one?
Yeah, I agree. Mine is school and career related. I continue to kind of touch base with, okay, what's next? I do tend to think ahead. I try to keep in mind how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, focus on one class and the next. But with the bar looming, truly, in that sense of the word, it's hard not to think forward thinking. And so, my questions are or even my anxieties are, do I need to be in the job that, I want to practice law in? Do I take it easy and really put my all my time into preparing for the bar? I don't intend to neglect it, but when you're spreading out your time, it's going to take away from something. And those are the questions that I think come to mind for me. Of course, I'm scared for the bar, but the bar is a stepping stone for the career. And so I can't help now in fourth year. It feels very real now. I feel like we feel more grown up. It's like we're almost done and it's scary. So what is that going to look like when we're done? I don't want to be wandering around. I've heard the lull after the bar. If you don't have something to do, it's like, what do we do on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday night?
I am
don't
not
wanna be
concerned
wondering.
about that.
You're not?
For me, it has always been, since I started 1L, it has always been what is going to be my career move after. Like Christina said, I mean, the bar is the stepping stone. I am stressed out about the bar, but for me, I'm a single income household, right? So, and I've been in my career for over 20 years. What is going to be the path for me when I leave here where that's going to, allow me to pay my bills still, and still allow me to practice law. So that's kind of stressful for me, is what is my step going to be?
Yeah.
Because like I said, I've been in this career for 22 years. I don't have to leave it, but now I have this law degree, so how am I going to make it work for me? So that's been the biggest challenge. And it's been why I couldn't do things like internships, because I cannot not do my full-time job,
Yeah.
So that's why I chose to do the clinics, so I could get some of that, that practice
Sure.
while I'm here, but still maintain
Yeah.
my bills.
It's only fair, you all have raised some important points, and I'm not here to get on a soapbox or to tell you that I have all the answers, but I'm going to close with two pieces of information. The first is that you need to channel that apprehension about the bar into just resolve that I can do this, as you all have talked about before. And that's what Bar Exam Workshop and Advanced Legal Studies are designed to do, in addition to the barbering materials. So if you're trying to figure out how much time ought you spend, and whether Emily Harvey's doing it now or not, I don't know, but last year we had a requirement to do a study schedule. And if y'all are doing that, any of us will give you feedback on that study schedule. And it needs to be custom fit to your circumstances. There's no perfect one. And the second point is this, and I think you may have heard me say this 3 years ago. We're a Barbary school for a reason. And one of the reasons why we're a Barbary school is that for those students who complete over 80% of the active exercises that will be made available to you, their pass rate on the bar is 8 out of 10. For people who do 50% or less, the pass rate is 2 out of 10. So do the math. So if you're asking yourself, am I doing enough? Focus on the active stuff. The lectures are kind of passive. If there's some area you don't feel comfortable with, you can do that, but it's going to be actively taking those practice tests and looking at your score, understanding what you did wrong, and not just pat yourself on the back what you got right. But it ain't rocket science. You all can do it. So thank you again for talking about your fourth year, and in about 10 months, I hope I'll be able to look at all four of you and say, I told you so.
We hope so
We
too.
hope so.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.